Coming up next.
Its appearance was just a large humanoid creature walking like a human being.
Our sightings investigators search for the legendary Bigfoot.
There is no possibility that could be a man in a fursuit.
Please support this channel by subscribing and leaving comments.
The following program deals with a controversial subject. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight on Sightings, it's the search for the world's most elusive creatures.
And all of a sudden the top of it swiveled, like, a head.
Are these monsters myth and legend, or horrifying real-life creations?
I've never seen anything like it. I was very, very scared.
And could these terrifying mutations threaten us all?
So there's a good indication that there may be some strange animal that we haven't discovered yet.
At that point, it started to appear.
They had large, dark eyes, claw-like hands.
I began sensing and knowing and feeling.
I do believe in life after death. I mean, I've been there.
We have not scratched the surface of what the mind can do.
It's a connection with the unknown.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. Tonight, monsters. They inhabit the nightmares of childhood and the folklore of every culture. And now there are scientists who believe that monsters aren't just myth. They're real. There are bizarre creatures among us that can't be explained. Some of them have been captured alive. And many of them live in our own backyard. Since earliest recorded history, there have been monsters to strike a chord of fear in all of us. In the Bible, monsters represented pure evil. They took many different forms, but all had the same goal: to do the bidding of an unrelenting Satan. By the 1800s, the sensibilities of Victorian society gave monsters a human face, but their evil deeds were decidedly inhuman. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein became fictional folklore, but the strangest account wasn't to be found in the pages of a Gothic novel, but with our 26th president, Theodore Roosevelt.
In the late 1800s, the woods of this country, the wilderness areas, were wild and dangerous. President Roosevelt found out just how dangerous these wilderness areas could be. Teddy Roosevelt loved to hunt. He loved to chase creatures through the wilderness, track, shoot. One night he found out this wasn't as much fun as he thought, when his hunting party frightened a Sasquatch into the camp of two trappers. One of the trappers was killed, neck broken, body mutilated, half-eaten by what seems to be, for all intents and purposes, a Sasquatch. 18.5-inch footprints were found the next morning, and Roosevelt was discredited. He became obsessed with finding this creature.
This is a theory developed by world-renowned Bigfoot investigator Terry Albright, based on Roosevelt's own writings about his hunting experiences all over the world. Although Teddy Roosevelt never actually came face-to-face with a Bigfoot, Albright claims he was obsessed with stories of reported sightings and carried the fascination to his grave.
Now, if Sasquatch is out there and potentially dangerous if aggravated, how many other creatures or things that go bump in the night are out there that we don't know about?
This is Hollywood's version of monsters. Creatures designed to scare us, even horrify us with their bloodthirsty qualities. But Hollywood monsters are just as likely to make us laugh at our own fears when they're obviously men in silly rubber suits.
Hollywood pokes a lot of fun at monsters. But the fact of the matter is, we have unexplained deaths. The Pentagon must know. Therefore, why aren't we being told the truth about this creature?
Despite resistance, Terry Albright continues to search for proof of Bigfoot and other alleged monsters. One unlikely hotspot is Bishopville, South Carolina. Residents here have encountered a bizarre humanoid creature that's rumored to haunt the nearby swamps. On July 5th, 1988, the Sheriff's Department responded to a call from a man who said he had been attacked by a scaly, 7-foot-tall monster locals have dubbed Lizard Man. 20-year-old Chris Davis was changing a tire on his car when he heard strange sounds.
And after I finished changing the tire, I was putting the stuff in the trunk. And I heard a noise. I looked back. I see something big running towards me. So I shut the trunk and ran to the car. I heard a loud crash on the hood.
Something or someone had clawed the hood of Chris's car and ripped off the molding. Footprints that didn't match those of any known animal were found near the attack site by Sheriff Liston Truesdale.
This track was found in the woods not long after the Lizard Man's story broke out.
No one knows what creature could have made this claw-like print, 14.5 inches long and 7 inches wide. There are alligators in the area, but no one believes the prints or the attack was the work of alligators or any other animal known in the pages of traditional biology. And yet each year, there are bizarre discoveries that drastically change our perceptions about life on Earth.
It scared me because of the traits it had.
Everyone believes that there is something here.
That thing went back that way, and I went that way.
Sound far out? Well, pandas were once mysterious monsters in China until Western zoologists tracked and cataloged them. Marine biologists estimate that there are over 1 million species of sea life yet to be discovered. In 1989, Woods Hole Oceanographic captured these incredible bioluminescent creatures, and no one knows what they are. Could these be real living monsters that somehow survived from prehistoric times? Experts believe the ozone layer is shrinking, creating climate changes. DNA may be mutating, and with unprecedented heat and drought, who knows what bizarre new life forms may be created by these atmospheric changes.
Coming up next.
Its appearance was just a large humanoid creature walking like a human being.
Our sightings investigators search for the legendary Bigfoot.
There is no possibility that could be a man in a fursuit.
A monster 8 feet tall, half man, half beast. Perhaps the elusive missing link between humans and apes. Since the first recorded sighting in 200 BC, creatures matching this description have been reported worldwide. But witnesses have caught only fleeting glimpses of the monster we now call Bigfoot. Is he, or she, real?
From their office in San Dimas, California, Terry Albright and his partner Peter Gattila are obsessed with tracking down the legendary Bigfoot. For over a year, the team has been concentrating on a rash of reliable sightings in Sonora, California. Signs of the creature's impact on local business are everywhere. In fact, the residents have adopted Bigfoot as an unofficial mascot.
Travels up and down the West Coast, and it's in Alaska in the summertime and then comes back down here for winter.
Biggest thing is size and its movement. More human-like than anything, than any animal. It had to be Bigfoot. There was no other answer.
Here, Albright and Gattila ask eyewitness Faye Milner to return to the site of her first Bigfoot encounter.
We got out of the car, and dogs started raising hell and just barking and sniffing and carrying on. So I just looked around. I thought, well, you know, maybe there's something here. Looked up here and saw 3 Bigfoots standing there.
During an examination of the forest, the researchers found evidence they believe confirms Bigfoot was there. And recently,
these branches way up here and up here. Now, some of these branches have been rubbed raw of bark. Places where things have been broken off, as you can see, through here. Not only that, below it, there is a path. Here is a branch which has been knocked off and walked over many times. Broken branches here, pushed down branches there. Something has obviously come through here regularly.
The evidence is similar to that found throughout the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia, and eyewitness descriptions are strikingly similar.
We could see them go behind that tree in through that opening, and then they were gone.
What I saw was about a 6.5, 7-foot creature, Bigfoot.
That's the scariest I've probably been in my life, to be that close to something and not see it and feel it. And the way it was breathing, I figured that thing was big, big.
Its appearance was just a large humanoid creature walking like a human being.
In the Himalayas, it's called Yeti. These tracks were found at the base of Mount Everest. The Chinese call it Fei-Fei, a 10-foot-tall creature whom they say has a taste for human flesh. Native Americans call it Oma. In Canada, it's Sasquatch. And in the western United States, we call it Bigfoot. October 20th, 1967, Bigfoot research pioneers Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin discover the trail of what they believe is an enormous Bigfoot. They gather what evidence they can, and deep in this pine forest, begin to feel an uneasy presence. They face a dilemma. How will they react if a Bigfoot actually appears?
We came around a bend in the creek where there was a downfall tree. At that point, as we came around the bend in the creek there, this creature was standing beside the creek.
Startled by the looming presence of the creature, the horses reared. Roger Patterson was thrown to the ground, but steadied his camera long enough to capture this legendary creature on film.
They encountered it very close, I think 20, 25 feet away, and Roger Patterson turned on his movie camera, ran after it as far as he could, and finally he stopped and it walked away.
Further perspective on the footage comes from Grover Krantz, a physical anthropologist at Washington State University.
Here is a cast that was made at the in 1967 at the site where Roger Patterson got a movie of one. And this is what I would consider to be probably an adult female. The creature has extremely wide shoulders, well over 3 feet wide. And I've done some measurements, and no human being at 6.5 feet tall would have shoulders and chest width to equal that. So there's no way they could fit their arms in the costume. I've gone through the whole film and reconstructed everything, the exact body movements and everything you can. And I'm satisfied that there is no possibility that could be a man in a fursuit. There's just no way around it.
If the film is not a hoax, then this is the moving image of a giant unknown species, probably female, as she passes alone by a river. Her slow retreat suggests no fear of man and no desire to make contact with us.
Films, videotapes, and plaster casts of giant footprints do little to satisfy skeptics who believe that Bigfoot is nothing more than hoax and folklore. Scientists demand more conclusive proof, and some believe that proof may be found in the fossilized jawbone of a species called Gigantopithecus.
In the late 1950s, an anomalous lower jawbone was discovered in China. Dr. Krantz believes this may be scientific proof that Bigfoot exists.
I've taken this jaw and tried to reconstruct what I think the entire skull would look like. This is what I've ended up with, that this is what the Gigantopithecus skull would have looked like. So I would certainly say the best guess as to what Bigfoot is it's Gigantopithecus still with us.
With mounting physical evidence from all over the world, Krantz believes it's only a matter of time before responsible researchers make the scientific discovery of the century, the capture of a living, unharmed Bigfoot.
Coming up,
We knew right off the bat it had to be some kind of a monster in the lake.
has science found proof that the Loch Ness Monster exists?
So there's a good indication that there may be some strange animal that we haven't discovered yet.
If we are to believe the thousands of sailors and fishermen who've seen them, enormous sea serpents have populated our oceans and lakes since earliest recorded history. The most popular spot for sightings is, of course, Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. For 1,400 years, residents have searched for proof of a monster they know is there.
The celebrated Loch Ness, 24 miles long, its waters so deep, dark, and murky that legend has it this body of water is cursed. Locals will tell you the lake never gives up its dead. Since 565 AD, hundreds have witnessed a creature no one can explain.
There came out of a loch was this huge shape, massive shape, brown grey in colour, huge. And it then zonked back into the loch, and then the loch was flat calm. And what I saw then was waves about 18 inches high going to each side of the loch. And then it just disappeared.
Believe it or not, we saw this great neck emerge from the water, at least about 5 feet, we estimate, above the water at an angle. Head and neck seemed to be one. Then it moved down with a sideways kind of motion and disappeared. And we hadn't drunk a drop of whiskey that morning.
These witnesses are seeing something strange and alive in the water. But what? Some believe that there are prehistoric creatures in Loch Ness that have survived extinction. What else could explain this bizarre figure, captured in the most famous of all Loch Ness Monster photographs? Taken by a reputable London surgeon in 1933, this was the start of a worldwide search for proof of the monster.
The big question in all this, of course, is, are these animals real? Why don't we catch them? Why do we see them so rarely?
In order to answer these questions, scientists have used many different techniques to photograph or even capture the Loch Ness Monster. In 1975, the Academy of Applied Sciences made headlines around the world with these remarkable pictures. They clearly show a flipper and the body of a creature never photographed before. Could this be what locals affectionately refer to as Nessie? With this new evidence, the search for a living monster intensified. Operation Deep Scan was mounted. Boats equipped with sophisticated radar and sonar worked together to scan every inch of the lake. Then, one underwater scanner picked up a startling anomaly.
Atlantis, what depth did you find target at, over? It started at about 480 feet down and rose up to 320 feet before we lost the target, over.
When we work with sonar, we get strong sonar contacts in Loch Ness. Obviously, we have to resolve that because the two may be linked.
So what is in Loch Ness? The answer may also explain what is in Lake Okanagan, 9,000 miles away in British Columbia, where residents describe an equally mysterious lake monster.
We had slowed down somewhat and moved over for it because it was coming straight for us. As it got across from us, we could see that this object, it was about 30 feet in length, and it was stirring up a tremendous amount of water.
Could the creature that reportedly inhabits this lake be related to the Loch Ness Monster? The sightings follow a similar pattern, going back 100 years when Indians named this monster Ogopogo.
All of a sudden, Ogopogo came to the top of the water, and my husband looked at me and he said, "Oh my God, it's Ogopogo."
We figured it's around 40 feet long, and there's no fish in this lake 40 feet long, so it wasn't a fish.
We knew right off the bat it had to be some kind of a monster in the lake.
Unlike Nessie, an Ogopogo sighting has rarely been captured on film. But in 1987, an American film crew shooting a news documentary on Ogopogo made news themselves when they shot this rare videotape, an unidentified creature rising to the surface of the lake.
Nothing around it, nothing in front of it, nothing behind it.
What did the news crew film? Was it an extraordinarily large fish or a prehistoric cousin of the Loch Ness Monster? Are witnesses seeing the same type of creature 9,000 miles apart? And could there be more yet to be discovered in other bodies of water around the world?
There's a good indication that there may be some strange animal that we haven't discovered yet. Chance will eventually perhaps favor us with discovering everything that lives in the ocean.
If lake monsters actually exist, where did they come from? One intriguing theory suggests that during the last ice age, certain prehistoric animals were trapped in what would later become freshwater lakes. The possibility that these monsters are actually living dinosaurs propels scientists to continue serious research.
Coming up, the world's most bizarre and frightening creations may be forced into our own backyards.
It wasn't a natural thing. It was some kind of, I think it was an unnatural creature.
A bolt of lightning, 100 million volts of electricity. Experiments have shown that this may have been the jolt that created life out of seawater. If that's true, imagine the beasts that could be created in the toxic waste of the 20th century.
I've never seen anything like it. I was very, very scared.
Perhaps the most amazing discovery of all was this creature, captured by Japanese fishermen in 1985. This bizarre carcass was caught off the coast of New Zealand, but the fishermen did not realize the importance of what they'd found. These rare photos were taken before the body was thrown back. Satellite photographs show that thousands of square miles of Pacific Ocean may be heating up. Near Mozambique, a fish thought to be extinct for 2 million years is captured alive. Could all these events be a hint of other monsters yet to be discovered?
When I first saw it, the neck was way out of the water. So I went to turn my boat to avoid this. And then all of a sudden the top of it swiveled, like, you know, a head. And that's when the excitement started.
Gary Limetta was on a pleasure cruise when he encountered a sea monster. This exclusive footage captures an 8-foot neck rising from the surface.
From what Gary Limetta has described, it looked to him like a very large turtle without a shell. The big question is, what can this animal be? After all, we have a catalog of a great number of animals that we have caught in the ocean. Are there any others?
We may soon find out. Dwindling animal habitats and destruction of the world's wild places mean animals, perhaps monsters, will soon have nowhere to go but into our own backyards.
It scared me because of the traits it had. You know, it wasn't a natural thing. It was some kind of, I think it was an unnatural creature.
Humanoid monsters and bizarre creatures of the deep have terrified people for thousands of years. But perhaps we shouldn't fear these so-called monsters. Remember, every day on this planet, more than 20 species of plant and animal become extinct, vanish from the face of the earth. Perhaps serious study of those creatures we call monsters can reverse the process. For Sightings, I'm Tim White. Good night.
Bobby's new girlfriend is beautiful beyond belief, but could she be a killer in disguise?
Criminals often use an alias.
First she's a killer, now you got her coming from another planet?
It's an all-new Vinny and Bobby tomorrow. And if you're looking for a few good laughs, join the few, the proud, the Comedy Corps, as America's funniest comedians step up to the mic on Comic Strip Live, late night tomorrow. Now stay tuned for Hidden Video, next.
If you're enjoying all this rare and unique content, please show your support by subscribing and leaving comments.